Hello students, hope you are doing good and preparing well for your exams. In today's lecture, we are going to discuss about the poem Dark August. This poem Dark August has been written by Derek Walcott, and before I talk about the poem Dark August and Derek Walcott, let me show you a picture. So you can see a picture here. What's this picture? You must be thinking that we are here to learn about the poem, but it has some purpose. So, you need to see that the weather condition which is there is not favorable. There could be some lightning, thunder, and rain. And the person who is standing there, he is not happy. His mood is not happy. It seems so. He could be in frustration, he must be in some mental chaos and conflict. So you can match these two, the outside environment and his mental state. So before I talk further and make you much clear about this picture regarding with reference to our poem, wait for a moment. I'll show you what is this. So the poem Dark August has been written by Derek Walcott. It has been written by Derek Walcott, and Derek Walcott, he is a writer from St. Lucia, West Indies. And when this poem Dark August was written, he was of just 19 years old. This is the poem Dark August, and when this poem was written, he was just of 19 years old. And this poem was published in his famous poetry collection, Amorous. And the other thing you need to remember about the poet Derek Walcott, that he was influenced by the writing of T.S. Eliot and Ezra Pound. You know about this. I'm sure that you must know about these two writers. And his other two American friends, they were also writers, Robert Lowell and Elizabeth Bishop. They also influenced him as a writer. And because of his immense contribution, significant contribution to literature, he was awarded with Nobel Prize in literature, in English literature in 1992. And when we talk about the frequent themes of his writings, we often find that in his writing there are the references of British colonialism and its negative effects on the indigenous population. What is this indigenous population? This is local population. This is native population of that particular country. So how this British colonialism has affected the indigenous population, it has been the subject matter of his writing. Besides it, we often find that in his writings there are the references of Caribbean culture, language, history, and complexities of identity. This is a brief introduction about the Derek Walcott and his themes of his writings. Now, let me tell you about the poem Dark August. So Dark August, this is the poem which has been written in 8 stanzas. And every stanza is of 3 lines. And when the stanza is of 3 lines, in English poetry it is called tercet. Tercet means, being a student of English literature, you must know about its meaning. Tercet means the stanza of 3 lines. And it has free verse. The poem has been written in free verse form. Free verse, what is this free verse? When the poem has no specific rhyming scheme. When the poem has no rhyming scheme at all, that kind of poem has been written in free verse, like this poem has been written. Now, what is this poem Dark August is? As the title of the poem suggests, that this poem must show some darker aspects, some difficult situation. So what is that difficult situation? Let me tell you. Here the speaker is a lover. Speaker of the poem is a lover, and he has been left by his beloved. So because he has been left by his beloved, so he is in difficult situation. His life is not good. You can easily connect with the lovers, those who have been left by their beloveds. Sorry, it's bit a lighter mode. So this is a poem in which you find that there are actually, which represents the darkness, isolation, and despondency of speaker's life. When he's left by his someone who has been very close to him, and then how, what kind of life he lives, what is his mental state, all these things have been discussed by the poet in the poem. The poet narrates the post-separation condition of the speaker and his longing for those old good days with his lover, but those dreamy and beautiful days never come. As you know, that once the time passed out, it never comes back. And that's what the poet says in the poem. And what the speaker in the inception of the poem, in the beginning of the poem, is not happy. His mental state has been represented by the outside environment. Hope now, the purpose of that picture which I have shown you is clear now. Because what you have seen in that picture, that the outside environment reflects the person's internal mental state, his internal emotional condition. So that's what in the poem we also find that the outside environment in the poem is very much unacceptable, is not favorable. There is incessant rain, thunder, lightning, and because of that the speaker is not happy. But at the same time, that outside environment represents the mental turmoil and complexities of the speaker's life, because he has been left by his lover. So in the poem, as I told you, that initially we find that the troublesome speaker is absolutely shattered. He is heartbroken, grief-stricken, and he doesn't know what to do. He only waits and waits for those, for the good time to come. He waits for he waits for his lover, and he waits for the weather to get improved, but that doesn't get improved because of that. In that way, the poet tries to tell us that we are waiting eagerly. We always wait eagerly for the good days, but sometimes those good days do not come. Hence the poet in the end of the poem says that instead of thinking about those times, about that past which was good, are thinking about the good days, are eagerly waiting for the good days to come, it's better to face the challenges of life. And that's what the speaker of the poem does in the poem, that he realizes that it's of no use to think much about the past. So what he does, that he resolves to face the challenges of life graciously, patiently, cheerfully, courageously, and completely. Without complaining, he faces all those challenges. He resolves to face all those challenges. And that's why in the end of the poem he says, I would have learned to love black days like bright ones. The black rain, the white hills, when once I loved only happiness and you. So he says, he realized that it's of no use, crying over the past. So it's better to love those black days. It's better to love the time which we have. Instead of thinking about those, instead of thinking and waiting for the golden or beautiful days, it's better to love those days, to accept those challenges, to accept the things which we have, which we are facing. Because those black days could be your bright ones. How your black days could be bright ones? Because those black days could teach you to be a strong person. Those black days teach you to face the challenges of life. They give you courage, patience, right? So that's what the poet wants to tell us, that instead of crying over the spilt milk, let's face those challenges with courage, with patience. Now, the next thing is objective correlative. This is what we have in the poem, and this term was given by Washington Allston and extensively used by T.S. Eliot. And this is objective correlative. Is this objective correlative is actually, which I have shown you in the picture in the very beginning of the lecture, that outside environment is match with your internal thoughts and emotions. With your internal emotions, right? Your internal emotions are represented by the outside environment. You can read it out to have the better understanding of it, right? So what are the themes of the poem? Love and separation, breakup and frustration, because the person is in love but at the same time he's been left by his lover, so now they are separated. And breakup, and which is followed by frustration, which is also one of the major themes of the poem. Isolation and its negative impacts. What are the negative impacts of isolation? Loneliness and alienation. This is also the part of discussion of this poem. And then the acceptance and endurance, as I told you in the lecture, that we need to accept the situation, we need to accept the challenges. And then the power of nature to represent human emotions, that how the nature represents human emotions. This is what the objective correlative जो मैंने आपको बताया ये वही होती है कि that how your negative impacts, how your emotions are represented by the outside environment. Whether you are happy, the outside environment should also represent those emotions by with sunny or beautiful day, and when you are sad, the outside environment would also be very unfavorable. So this is how the objective correlative works. So what is the overall message which the poet has tried to deliver in the in this poem? Overall message is that the difficult situation, first of all, you need to know that this poem is autobiographical in nature, because it was written when the poet was just 19 years old, and it could be his mental state after he was left by some his some of his closest friends. So it shows that it could have some autobiographical elements. And the other thing you need to know, that this poem tells you about the suffering, frustration, anger, which are actually the negative outcomes of the breakup and separation of lovers, right? And then the other thing which the poet wants to tell you, that we must face those things. We must face the sufferings. We must overcome those sufferings and negativity by resolving to face all the challenges of life with graciously, patiently, cheerfully, courageously, and compliantly, instead of crying over the spilt milk. There is no use of crying over the spilt milk. So it's better that you should move on. You should face the challenges of life. That's what the poet wants to tell you. So what we have discussed in this poem, that first thing is that we need to know about the Dark August, Derek Walcott's introduction and the Dark August, and then we learned about the objective correlative and themes in the poem and what is the overall message. So that's all from my side, and I am sure that this lecture will help you a lot from the perspective of your exam, and we will meet again with another some important video. Till then, bye bye, take care. Thank you so much, dear students.